So today we got some big news from AtGames. In addition to the firmware release version 4.6 that was released earlier on this morning, we were actually told that there's going to be a new product that is coming out, and it is called the Legends Gamer. So what we're going to do is go over the firmware update quickly, and then I'm going to tell you guys everything that I know about the Legends Gamer. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. The firmware version, as I mentioned, is version 4.6. There isn't a huge amount of things that have been implemented in this, but there is actually a pretty cool feature, so we're just going to go over that really quickly. The new feature is called control mirroring. What this essentially allows you to do is change the configuration of your controls. There are actually 4 different potential layouts that you can choose. The first one is your default layout, where your player 1 would have the left joystick and left buttons, and your player 2 would have the right joystick and right buttons. That's what we are all familiar with. That is how it is currently set. The next one is called swap. And what happens here is your player 1 would have the right joystick and the right buttons, and the player 2 would actually have the left joystick and the left buttons. So that's essentially just swapping left and right players. Hybrid 1 is player 1 gets the left joystick and the right side buttons, player 2 gets the right side joystick and the left side buttons, and for Hybrid 2, player 1 gets the right joystick and the left buttons, and player 2 gets the left joystick and the right buttons. So as you guys can probably tell, this will make playing certain games a little bit more authentic. If you are playing a specific game where the joystick is traditionally on the right-hand side of things and your buttons would be on the left, you now have the ability to make those sort of changes. So that's actually really cool to see that. One of the main games that come to my mind in terms of being able to use this feature would be something like Tron. You'd have a little bit more of an authentic experience with your joystick in your right hand and then access to your control buttons on the left-hand side. So it's just a little bit more customizable, and it is a nice feature to have. And I think the natural next step would be able to enable this to be changed somehow actually within the game itself. So rather than actually going in and remapping buttons the way you would traditionally remap buttons, you'd just be able to filter through right in your menu section. Aside from that, that's pretty much it in terms of the updates. There are some known issues. As I mentioned in the last video a couple days ago, the background music still may continue to play in areas where it shouldn't, like attract mode or in BYOG, ArcadeNet, local streaming, things like that. Additionally, they're also saying that the pop-up dialog that pops up after your firmware update may show the wrong number. Just disregard that. You'll be able to see which version you are truly running in your settings section under your version number. The only other thing that they're mentioning here is that some of the add-ons will not run after the system has been left running for too long. If this happens, you just simply have to do a power cycle and then launch that game again. But now with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the most exciting news that we've heard today. So AtGames is releasing a new product, and it's going to be called the AtGames Legends Gamer. And this thing looks like it's going to be pretty decked out. Now in terms of what the physical device is actually supposed to represent, it's going to be more of a tabletop arcade or fight stick style, where you can actually set it up pretty much anywhere and connect to any TV. Now, one of the big cool features here is that they're actually going to be using an HDMI streaming box to transfer the information, so you don't need a direct connection from your device to your TV. So that's going to free up a lot of the hassle of running cables to and from the device, and additionally it's going to have a built-in battery. Now these things are going to be things that could potentially be problems down the road, especially when you're dealing with HDMI streaming. A lot of the newer tech that's coming out with HDMI streaming is pretty good, but if they're using low quality HDMI streaming boxes, you can run into some latency issues. So I'm very curious to see exactly how well this is going to perform. Now they're labeling it as an InstaPlay HDMI streaming box, which would indicate right in the name that it's fairly instant and there would be low latency, but only time will really tell, and we'll have to actually get our hands on this to see how well it actually functions. Another thing that I did mention is that rechargeable battery, and I would hope that they put in a good quality battery. You don't want this thing running for 2 or 3 hours and then dying. You want to be able to get 6-7 hours worth of continuous gameplay on this thing, so they got to make sure that they're putting in the proper amount of juice. The next cool feature that they're including is that they are going to be putting in 8 action buttons instead of the 6 that we saw on the Legends Ultimate. So that actually is really cool. We're going to have 2 additional buttons, and that actually opens the door for a wide variety of additional games, especially more modern games. So if you're getting into things like the new Mortal Kombat games or new Street Fighter, or even if we're talking about other PC fighting games like Injustice, we can now actually properly map all of the different controls, and we can take full control of those games. games. The third cool feature that they've got here is that they are including 2 additional buttons on each side of the device. And they're saying one is going to be considered a flipper button and the other one is going to be an action button. And you'll have 2 on each side of the device, and that will allow you to play for a quote-unquote authentic virtual pinball. I don't have any information as to whether or not they're going to include any sort of force feedback or haptic feedback, and I don't imagine that they would, especially given the price point of this thing. So my guess is that they're just going to be buttons to kind of simulate having it there, but you're not going to get that true authentic feel. But it is going to be something that is interesting to see going forward, and it makes me wonder if they're going to include some virtual pinball games in the roster of games that will be licensed and included with the device. In terms of the other buttons, we're going to get our standard player 1 start, player 2 start. We are going to be getting a rewind button again, and they are also putting a home button built in, and those will all be dedicated buttons. So that's really nice to see, and honestly the design is very similar to what we saw in terms of its graphic art from the Legends Ultimate. So it looks very familiar to people who have a Legends Ultimate arcade cabinet, and it does fit really nicely right within their product line. Now, in terms of games, we are going to have 150 built-in licensed arcade games, and of course we're always going to have access to ArcadeNet and the BYOG feature, as well as any other features that you would see in terms of streaming and things like that. So we are going to have lots of options for us, and of course, as I said earlier, we are going to be able to load up any games we want as well via the add-on tool that is available for the Legends Ultimate machine. Now, of course, I mentioned we have wireless HDMI transfer, but we are also going to have Bluetooth, and we also do have built-in Wi-Fi, which we would expect. So those are going to be good if you wanted to actually use this device as a standalone fight stick for your PC, for example. You can Bluetooth connect it into your PC, and you can just use it as a fight stick for PC gaming as well. So it's kind of versatile in that sense too. We're going to have all of the same features that were available to us in the Legends Ultimate in terms of changing aspect ratio, display parameters on a per game basis, and things like that. And you can really do kind of what you want in terms of a customized look. So it's really cool that they're providing this sort of product. I got to be honest, this wasn't the announcement I was expecting, and I really didn't see this product coming. I thought they might go with something like this a little bit down the road. I certainly think this is a little bit more attainable for people who don't have the space for a full arcade cabinet, and this is something that is also a little bit more affordable. Now, obviously, this isn't something that's coming out right away. It does have a Q3, Q4 release date, and obviously pre-orders are going live now with a retail price of about $199.99 US. So in terms of the price point, I think it's pretty good, especially when you're comparing it to something like the Capcom Home Arcade, which comes with 16 titles and is incredibly limited as to what can be done with it. This looks like it's going to be a little bit of a better value here. So I know a lot of people were hoping for a different kind of announcement. I'm one of those people as well, but this is actually a pretty cool product. That being said, I'm very curious to see how well it actually performs. The wireless HDMI is something that I do like the tech. I just am a little bit concerned when you are dealing with games that require very low to no latency. So I'm curious to see just how well this is going to work. But that's pretty much all I've got for you guys in this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of this Legends Gamer device that's going to be coming out. Is it something you're going to pre-order? Is it something you're going to take a pass on? I want to hear from you guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you like my content, and hit that thumbs up button. And if you didn't like the video, hit the thumbs down button. That's cool too. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.